Okay, chicos, so today we're going to look at subject pronouns. And these are really important to understand straight off the bat at the beginning of our Spanish learning journeys. Although if you are already on that path, this will be a good refresher for you. So, let's look at the subject pronouns. There's going to be two tables. The first half here, we've got yo, we've got tú, él, ella, and usted. So yo means I, yo. Tú is you, singular, just one person. Él, he, ella, she, usted, you, formula single. Then we have nosotros and nosotras, and this translates to we. So that's either an all-male group, if it's nosotros, the os, and if it's as, it's we with an all-female group. Okay. Vosotros and vosotras, that means you, plural. So if there's a group of more than one person, you're going to use vosotros or vosotras. And then we have ellos, ellas, and ustedes, which means ellos, they, ellas, they. Again, whether it's a group of men or women. And ustedes, which means you, as in a formal plural. Okay, so more than one person and in a formal context. But I'm going to go into these in more detail. But essentially, this column on the left, these are the subject pronouns. And so you'll see these before you conjugate a variety of different verbs in Spanish, and we'll get to that. But these, you just got to know them, because that indicates who a verb is referring to. Okay. So, firstly, one important thing to know is that subject pronouns can be used to replace the subject. So they can be used to replace the person or the thing performing the action in a sentence. Ejemplo, example, David toma una cerveza. You could swap out David, who is the subject, he's the one doing it, to él. Él toma una cerveza. So he takes a beer, he has a beer. So that's one use of a subject pronoun there. The other use is you can use them to avoid repetition. So, María es profesora. María habla portugués. So instead of using Maria twice here, you can use a subject pronoun in the second half. So you can say, María es profesora. Ella habla portugués. So she speaks Portuguese, instead of using Maria twice. So that's a nice way of doing things there. It avoids repetition. Now, I want to cover some important things relating to the table that we've just seen of the subject pronouns. The first one is relating to tú. Now, tú, this is you when referring to just one person in an informal manner, like a friend. So you're going to use tú when you're referring to an individual in an informal manner. So a friendly context, you're going to use tú. And be careful that in some Latin American countries, like Argentina, like Honduras, they use the word vos instead of tú, V-O-S. So they don't actually use tú, they use vos. Very common in Argentinian Spanish, for example. I'll do a video of that on another time. Secondly, usted. So usted also means you when you're referring to just one person. So it's the same as tú, you're referring to one person, but the difference is you're referring to a person in a formal manner. So you're not going to use usted with a friend, you're going to use it in a formal manner. So if you're talking to a teacher, perhaps, you're a student, you're talking to a teacher, or you're talking to someone with an esteemed position, someone in the government potentially, you're going to use usted, okay? Even a boss or a colleague in the higher part of the hierarchy, that's usted there. Now, vosotros and vosotras, this also means you. So we have tú, which means you, but one person in an informal context. Then we have usted, which is one person, you, in a formal context. And vosotras and vosotros is you, but it's referring to more than one person. Okay? Now, if it's a group of all men, you're going to use vosotros. You guys, vosotros. If it's a group of 6 women and 1 man, you're going to use vosotros. So whenever there's a man present, you're going to use vosotros. If it's an entire group of women, you're going to use vosotras. So if it's a group of women, vosotras. But if there's one man in the group, you're going to use vosotros. Another ojo. Ojo means careful, watch out. Vosotros and vosotras is not used in Latin America. They don't use it at all. They use ustedes. So ustedes can also mean you, referring to a group of people. And you don't have to distinguish if it's a man in the group or if it's all women. You just use ustedes in Latin America. And ustedes is also used in Spain for a group of people, but it's in a formal setting. Okay, so if I'm speaking to a group of bosses or colleagues, I might use ustedes. But in Latin America, I never use vosotros or vosotras. I use ustedes. Okay? And then nosotros and nosotras. This means we. And nosotros is used when talking about a group consisting of at least one male. So similar rule to vosotros, vosotras. And nosotras is for a group of all females. So nosotros is a group of men in a football team, for example. And nosotras, again, in a female football team of all women, you would use nosotras, we. And then let's look at ellos and ellas. Similar rules, masculine and feminine. This means they. So ellos is a group of consisting of at least one male, and ellas is a group consisting of all females. And then finally, perhaps the most ironic and important thing to know about the subject pronouns is that they are often excluded in Spanish. You don't actually hear them used a lot in spoken Spanish. This is because you can tell from the conjugation of the verb who the subject is. So, ejemplo, yo hablo inglés. You don't need the yo, you just say hablo inglés. And we can tell from the conjugation here that we're referring to yo. So I speak English, hablo inglés, instead of yo hablo inglés. Same here. Nosotros cantamos en el bar. We sang at the bar. You don't need the nosotros. You just say cantamos en el bar. Cantamos en el bar. We sang in the bar. Excuse these sirens. However, you could make the case here, well, is cantamos the present tense? Nosotros cantamos, we sing. Or is it the preterite tense? Nosotros cantamos, we sang. Because they're conjugated in the same way. We sing and we sang. And here, just reading it, we don't know is the honest answer. So it depends on the context. So if the context is clear, if in the sentence before I said, la semana pasada, last week, cantamos en el bar, we sang in the bar, for example. But often you can just remove the subject pronoun. Although you can also include it, as some Spanish speakers do, for extra emphasis or for dramatic effect, for clarity. So you'll hear that a lot. And there we go. I've done a guide on this that you can download for free, chicos. Let me know if you have any questions. This is an important topic and one to master at the beginning of your journey or refresh your mind on. So do let me know if you have any questions below. You can find that guidebook for free below. And then we also have the Chat Spanish Verb Lab, where it is a free tool where you can practice conjugating the 100 most frequent Spanish verbs for your pleasure. I've put the link in the description and the comments as well for that. So get in there, you'll see these subject pronouns, and I'll ask you to conjugate verbs in these 5 tenses, and then you can learn from your mistakes and keep getting out there. Persevera y triunfarás. That's the most important thing at the end of the day. So please do enjoy yourselves, keep practicing, keep chatting Spanish. Any questions, let me know. Make sure you're part of the newsletter. I've got a bunch of free resources. Thinking of you all. Un abrazo. Ciao.